It was now 2 days before the Passover and the Feast of Unleavened Bread. And the chief priests and the scribes were seeking for a way to arrest him by stealth and kill him, for they were afraid that there might be an uproar from the people. While he was at Bethany in the house of Simon the leper, as he was reclining at table, a woman came with an alabaster flask of ointment of pure nard, very costly, and she broke it. She poured it over his head. And there were some who said to themselves indignantly, "Why was the ointment wasted like this? For this ointment could have been sold for more than 300 denarii and given to the poor." And they scolded her. But he said to them, "Leave her alone. She has done a beautiful thing to me. The poor you'll always have with you, and whenever you want, you can do good to them, but you will not always have me. She has done what she could. She's anointed my body beforehand for burial." And truly I tell you, wherever the gospel is proclaimed in the whole world, whatever she has done will be told in memory of her. Then Judas Iscariot, who was one of the 12, went to the chief priests to betray him to them. When they heard this, they were glad, and they promised to give him money. And he sought for an opportunity to betray him. During the Passover, on the first day of unleavened bread, when they sacrificed the Passover lamb, the disciples came to him and they said, "Where would you have us go to prepare for you to eat the Passover meal?" And he sent two of them, and he said, "Go into the city, and a man carrying a jar of water will meet you. Follow him. And wherever he enters, say to the master of the house, 'The teacher says, where is my guest room, where I may eat the Passover with my disciples?' And he will show you a large upper room, furnished and ready. Go there and prepare for us." So the disciples set out. They went to the city, and they found everything just as he had told them. And there they prepared the Passover meal. And when it was evening, he came with the 12. And as they were reclining at table, he said to them, "One of you will betray me, one who is eating with me." And the disciples began to be sorrowful and say to him one after another, Is it I?" And he said, "It is one of the 12, one who is dipping bread into the dish with me. For the Son of Man goes as is written of him, but woe to that man by whom the Son of Man is betrayed. It would have been better for that man if he had not been born." Then while they were still eating, he took bread, and after blessing it, he broke it, and he gave it to them, saying, "Take, this is my body." And he took a cup, and after giving thanks, he gave it to them, and they all drank of it. And he said to them, "This is my blood of the covenant, that is poured out for many. And surely I tell you, I will not drink of the fruit of the vine again until I drink of it new, that day, in the kingdom of heaven." Then after they had sung a hymn, they went out to the Mount of Olives. And he told his disciples, "All of you will fall away, for it is written, I will strike the shepherd, and the sheep will be scattered. But after I'm raised, I'll appear before you in Galilee." But Peter said to him, "Even if they all fall away, I will not." But Jesus said, "Truly I tell you, this very night, before the rooster crows twice, you'll deny me 3 times." But then Peter said emphatically, "Even if I must die with you, I will not deny you." And they all said the same. And they went to a place called Gethsemane, where he told his disciples, "Sit here while I pray." And he took with him Peter, James, and John, and began to be greatly distressed and troubled. He said to them, "I'm sorrowful, even unto death. Remain here and watch." And going a little farther, he fell to the ground and prayed that if it were possible, this hour might pass from him. He said, "Abba, Father, all things are possible with you. Remove this cup from me, yet not what I will, but what you will." And he came. He found them sleeping. He said to his disciples, "Simon, are you asleep? Could you not watch 1 hour? Watch and pray, that you may not enter into temptation, for the spirit is willing, but the flesh is weak." And then he went again to pray, saying the same words. And he came and found them sleeping and taking their rest, for their eyes were heavy, and they did not have the words to respond. A third time he came and he said, "Are you sleeping and taking your rest? It is enough. The hour has come. The Son of Man is betrayed into the hands of sinners. Arise, let us be going. See, the betrayer is at hand. And immediately Judas came, who was one of the 12. And with him was a large crowd with swords and clubs, from the chief priests, the scribes, and the elders. When they came, the betrayer had a sign. The one I will kiss is the man. Seize him and lead him away under guard. And when they came, he went up to him at once and said, Rabbi. And he kissed him. And they seized him and put him under guard. But one of those who stood by drew his sword and struck the servant of the high priest and cut off his ear. But Jesus said, Do you come out as against a robber? With swords and clubs to capture me? Day after day I was with you in the temple teaching, and you did not seize me. But let the scriptures be fulfilled. And they all left him and fled. And a young man in a linen cloth followed him. But they seized him, and he left the linen cloth and ran away naked. And they led Jesus to the high priest. And Peter followed at a distance, right into the courtyard of the high priest, where he sat with the guards and warmed himself by the fire. Now the chief priest, the scribes, and the elders came together. And they sought testimony against Jesus to put him to death, but they found none. For many bore false witness against him, but their testimony did not agree. Some even stood up and said, I heard him say, I will destroy the temple and rebuild it in 3 days, but even about this, their testimony did not agree. And the chief priest stood up among them and said, Have you no answer to make? See what these men testify against you. But Jesus made no answer. So the chief priest asked him again, Are you the Christ, the Son of the Blessed? And Jesus said, You have said so. And you will see the Son of Man seated at the right hand of power and coming in the clouds of heaven. And the chief priest tore his garments and said, What further witness do we need? You have heard this blasphemy. What is your decision? And they all condemned him as deserving death. And some began to spit on him, to cover his face, to strike him, saying to him, Prophesy. And the guards received him with blows. And Peter was below in the courtyard, warming himself by the fire. And a servant girl of the high priest came, and when she saw him, she looked at him. She said, You also were with the Nazarene, Jesus. But he denied it, saying, I neither know nor understand what you mean. And he went out into the gateway, and the rooster crowed. And the servant girl saw him again, and she said to him in front of the bystanders, You also were among them. But he denied it. And after a little while, the bystanders again said to him, You also are one of them, for you are a Galilean. But he began to call in a curse upon himself and to swear, saying, I do not know this man of whom you speak. And immediately the rooster crowed. And Peter remembered the words of Jesus. Before the rooster crows twice, you will deny me 3 times. And Peter broke down and he wept. Mark chapter 14. Be encouraged by the word of the Lord. Reach out to me if you want to know more about scripture memory, and subscribe for more content.